live from New York. It's the show that's celebrating in style. It's first things
Doesn't
first.
even make sense.
Well,
It does.
makes all the sense.
Be careful, Wildes. Be careful.
About
I
what?
celebrated early, and you see what happened there. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Today, Joker last night, 40 points, 7 rebounds, 13 assists, 0 turnovers. Shot 68%, bro. He was playing his best when the lights were the brightest. That's not true for everybody. Sometimes people like to dim the
No,
lights.
God, this doesn't make narrative sense.
Get a little music.
This is a gentleman bit.
Pour
And
yourself a cocktail.
that's why that club was out.
You know that's apple juice.
Well, a gentleman doesn't drink during the day. Brew?
This doesn't make sense.
Wow, 6 games
Certainly
is a
feels
dog
like it.
fight.
Yeah.
You're a gentleman in a dog fight. This is if they win in 6 or 7, it's a dog fight. You acting like it's a
It
gentleman.
just doesn't make sense.
I'm just acting like a gentleman. I think there's different levels of gentlemanliness.
Uh-huh.
Certainly one level, gentleman sweep, give him 1 game.
Yeah.
Are you a true gentleman? Give him 2.
Okay. All right,
Bro?
go ahead, bro.
Well, look, I picked them to win last night. I picked Denver to win last
Can I
night,
have a
so
drink
I'm
of
not
that?
surprised.
Long
Be
show.
careful, it's a
Thanks,
little
buddy.
stiff.
I appreciate it.
I do want to say something though. Is it really?
I don't know.
A gentleman's
Glenlivet,
drink?
I'm not sure what it
it's
is. Go ahead, bro.
Strong Mott's.
Yeah.
You got to give props to Jokic. Anthony Edwards is exactly right. I mean, my goodness. Look, first, Aaron Gordon played, I thought, great.
Yep.
KCP hit some big shots.
I thought he hit twice. He hit shots when it felt like could Minnesota
Yep.
get back in it, and he hit that shot. You're like,
No,
God,
and in fact, from each corner.
That's exactly
2
right.
corner threes.
Yep.
Christian Brown. There's been talk about the bench. Reggie Jackson played pretty well in the first half. Christian Brown came up with some big plays. But Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. weren't really, Jamal was okay, but they didn't put their imprint on the game. And Jokic, I mean, he did it all. He played with muscle. He played with finesse. His footwork was tremendous. He hit hook shots. He obviously has a few dunks, which is unusual for him. He hit some big threes. He destroyed the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. He just annihilated him. And Gobert had actually guarded him fairly well in the first few games of the series. So Jokic, look, and Nick, I'm going to say this. I am already doing it. Now, last year after Jokic won his first championship, I said he's the 7th greatest center ever.
Yep.
I am moving him ahead of Moses Malone.
Just on last night.
Well, I
That
mean,
was
it's
kind
just
of a-
He was
an
close.
accumulation.
Yep.
It was already close. I'm moving him ahead of Moses. I just think he's better. I mean, he does everything. And he's chasing Olajuwon, obviously, to get in the top 5. But he was tremendous. Denver also, great defense. They doubled Anthony Edwards. That was a nice adjustment from Michael Malone. And also, they protected the rim well. In Game 4, I was like, man, Ant can get to the rim. And there's nobody there to even dissuade him at the rim. And last night, they protected the rim really well, too. So just an all-around great performance by the Nuggets.
Go ahead, Wildes.
I was going to talk about the turnovers.
Sure.
We talked about everything else. 0 turnovers, 30 points, 10 assists, 0 turnover games. This season, including the playoffs, Joker has 4. The rest of the NBA has 4 total. And specifically, I wanted to shout this out because the turnovers were driving me batty. Last game against the Lakers, even though they won, he had 7 turnovers. First game against the Wolves, which they obviously lost, he had 7. Next game, he had 4. Last night, he had 0. So just hold on to the ball, take care of it. No free points. I feel like the Wolves thrive on turnovers, almost like an NFL team. They thrive on turnovers, get a little more energy, get a little more think we can to them. But it didn't happen, and it was just a delight.
I think that you guys almost understated how brilliant Joker was. So I'll get into that. But first, I do want to give Wildes props. Brew, he's 43% of the way to being right. So he's almost halfway to being right that no one's beating Denver in a 7-game series. They have 7 of the 16 games they have to win for you to be correct. But you are back from the brink.
Yep.
And you, to your credit, put yourself out there yesterday guaranteeing a Denver win. I thought that was foolish. And the reason it felt guaranteed in the second half was because of Nikola Jokic. And so that third quarter by Jokic was, and we can show you the numbers, and the numbers are great, but they're not historic. Like, we've seen quarters like this.
Sure.
If you watched it, it was perfect offensive basketball. It was absolutely apex perfect offensive basketball against Rudy, who was not playing poorly. So to me, there are almost four main characters from this game. Jokic is obviously one of them, and it is back-to-back A-plus games in the biggest spots imaginable. And that, by the way, is how you become legendary. You mentioned Dream. There was a bit of Dream seeing the Admiral get the MVP and then hanging the 41-16, 4-3, and 2 on him. In Jokic yesterday, dropping 40, his first ever 40-point playoff win. Yeah. Typically, when he's scored like that, it's because they're under manager. It's been a strategy. So he was brilliant. I think coaching matters a lot, good or bad. And I think Michael Malone, that was one of the most effective technicals ever committed by a coach. It then led to 3 consecutive charges, which all were maybe good calls, 50-50 calls, but he got them all. And then you pointed out, Wildes, in the third quarter, I think it was.
Second half,
start of the third quarter, they went from down 6, Minnesota did, to up 1. Timeout, 11-2 run, boom. So they get credit. Like, coaching can impact playoff series for good or for bad. And then, on the other side of it, quickly. So I thought Draymond, listen, getting Draymond to critique Rudy Gobert is a little unfair, in my opinion. I don't know that he is going to be an unbiased observer on it. And he set the narrative that Gobert has to be better. For the record, Draymond only got to play Rudy once this year because he was suspended or missed the other games. Rudy had Draymond only got to play Jokic once this year, pardon me. And Jokic had 32, 16, and 16, which has only been done by 2 other guys in the history of the league. So even great players have trouble with Nikola Jokic. What I do think is fair is this. This is why some of us have stated that Gobert's value can be overstated, because you can be the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, the best defender in the league, and utterly helpless. It is why when people say it's 50% offense, 50% defense, that might be true for teams, but for assessing individual players, it is not true. Because the great offensive players will crush you. And that is what we saw last night. And then the last person is this, it's Anthony Edwards, who, this is kind of why, unless your name is Magic Johnson or LeBron James, at this age you don't lead a team to the finals, because you're not quite ready yet.
Magic obviously had Kareem.
Sure,
he was leading them.
But Magic was the 100%. And so Anthony Edwards, there has to be a little bit of criticism in that this was after a great game 4 that they lost, a game where it was in the balance, and if he would have had one of those flurries in the second half, they could have taken the lead in that third quarter.
He probably needed, I think he needed to be a little more aggressive against the double team. Now, again, they defended him really well.
Out of it.
He was making the right plays, and his teammates couldn't hit shot. Early on, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who played well and did Monty Morris in place of Mike Conley, but I didn't think Alexander Walker was going to be able to keep hitting those threes in the first half. He was 3 for 3 in the first half, and that was keeping them in the game. 1 for 5 in the second half, and it fell apart.
All right. Meanwhile, bruised Wolves.
Draymond is a body language expert. Remember with Jaylen Brown in the series against the Celtics? Didn't he pull at his shorts? Draymond pulled at his shorts. He didn't respond.
He also, remember in the national championship game from his couch, assessed that a guy quit, and that's why they lost. And then we realized that guy wasn't even in the game at the time that he was talking about. So he could be hit and miss with the body language.
But so I disagree that they've quit. But you guys know I agree with, why are you limping, Kat? You played 38 minutes. And played, like you said, pretty well. And now you're going to limp. He could have said it about Luka. He could have said it about Embiid. He could have said it about Anthony Davis, too. All right? And there's just some guys that are going to do that. But when you do that, and you're either, you're drawing sympathy from the onlookers like, man, look at how, he braved through it. He's a tough guy. He played through it. But your opponents are looking at it in a lot of cases as weakness. Because we just saw you play 35 to 40 minutes and you weren't limping, and now you limp off. All right. So I just think that some of these guys, not just Cat, they need to recognize that. Now, I don't think they're done. I don't think they've quit. I think Anthony Edwards will bounce back. Every time he's had a subpar game, Nick, in these playoffs, he has bounced back. Game 2 against Phoenix, he goes 3 for 12, 15 points, comes back with 36 the next game. Game 3 against Denver, 19 points.
Had 43.
Was shot okay, but then dropped 44 on him. So I think Anthony Edwards is going to bounce back. The key, Cat, I don't know if a 23 is enough. They may need him because they're probably going to double Anthony Edwards again and make the Timberwolves show what adjustments they made. And Cat may need to go somewhere between 28 and 30.
They also could use Conley if he can come back. And I don't know
if he can come back. And again, I think the other guys play well, but he's
a steady force,
he directs traffic and all that stuff. So, but look, I think they absolutely are still in this thing. This is,
Go ahead, Wild.
Base levels at an all-time low there.
Okay, well, I
firmly believe.
I firmly believe. No.
Can I
Go ahead,
graphic?
yeah, please.
If you're a student of NBA history, Brew, which I know you are,
Was it 82%?
took a 3-2 lead after dropping the first 2 at home.
That's different.
How did it play out?
You showed me this the other day.
Well,
you put this in my face the other day.
So, I mean,
something similar.
You think they're going to be the first team to lose a series?
Well,
now?
let me say this before you go, Nick. And that obviously doesn't look well. But there's more than that. You somewhat alluded to it last comment with Anthony Edwards. The history says that you just if you're the T-Wolves, you don't win this series and go all the way to the finals. All right. Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, even Jokic, it's taken a while. Like, if Minnesota wins this series and goes all the way to the championship, I mean, that will be largely unprecedented. And I'm not even saying because Edwards is 22, because I do think he has good players around him, better than LeBron and Jordan and those guys had at a young age. But still, history would say they lose a heartbreaking series, and then next year maybe get over the hump, and then the following year get over the hump if they're ever going to. So history's with the Nuggets.
So as you guys know, I'm yet to make a pick in this series.
Yes, oddly.
But
I don't think one's coming. How about that?
I am willing to, now through 5 games, now that this is a weird one where the series actually didn't start until the home team won a game, which was last night. So
like
it does feel like Denver's in control. But as confident and cocksure as you are, I have a question for you. A sincere question.
Yeah, just because I'm wearing a bow tie.
Do you think one of Denver's weaknesses this postseason, maybe their only weakness, has been they haven't taken every game totally seriously?
Yes, even at the waning parts of last night's game.
Yes.
Like, time to relax. Guys.
And so, do you think it's on the board that they let their foot off the gas for Game 6?
Yes, it's on the board.
So you think so as confident as you are of the Nuggets winning the series, you're not totally confident that it's not going 7.
No, sometimes their confidence can.
Yes, and so
double-edged sword.
I think that Anthony Edwards is going to come out with a vengeance in Game 6, and I think Denver can get a little careless. And so the point I am trying to make is this: if it goes 7, it is ludicrous to act like only one team can win the series. Oh. It is like, as Brew is picking the Timberwolves, he is not saying, like, going into a Game 7, he would not be like, this thing is a lock. And I don't think there is no scenario. The last time I felt like a Game 7 was a lock was when Paul George's Pacers were playing the peak Miami Heat. Remember that series that went back and forth, and I think the Heat ended up winning that by 30 points. It felt like it was a mismatch that Miami just kept letting them in. So I think this is going to go 7. Denver has the best player in the series. They are the most confident. They have the most experience. But weird things can happen in the 7th game. And so that's why I feel like your celebration is a touch premature, not just for the championship, but for this series in and of itself.
So you have made a pick for the
right
next
now,
game.
For the next game, well, no, listen, my pick right now is Denver in 7. But the fact that it's going 7 means
anything could happen.
Yeah.
I could see it. You know what? As a gentleman.
You know what? I'm going to finish
gentleman-
that. Me agreeing with
You're
you.
going to allow that because you're a gentleman.
Well, sure.
We're
I think it's 6.
games in, and he's making a pick, and
Well,
you're going to.
that's what happened. You guys talked so much, I didn't have time.
Since
in the
when
pre-
in the
show.
history of this show has that ever happened?
You know what? There's a first time for everything.
Fair
We
point.
just invented ass stocks this week too. Go ahead.
Finally to the Garden, Jaylen Brunson. Did Brunson validate his club
Admit it, bro.
status?
Club superstars never missed. We're 36 for 36 on admits.
Look.
Hold on. Before
Here's
you
what
even
I'll
show
give
the
you.
club, America, show the club to America so they can be reminded
so glad.
on who's in. Can you imagine how mortifying it would be for our maitre d' if in Jaylen Brunson's seat was Donovan Mitchell, who's not even playing,
No,
or Tyrese Halliburton,
well,
who
not
might as well
Halliburton.
not
Not
be
Halliburton.
playing.
Sure, maitre
The-
d'.
Kyrie wouldn't have looked good either. I'll give you that.
Or Kyrie after 2 out of last 3 games has 9 points. Club superstar with the eye of an oracle knows who to let in and who to let out. Admit it, Brew.
No.
What do you mean?
This is why Nick is so happy.
Why?
Because you probably had this done a week, 2 weeks, who knows how long, before we unleashed
Before
it on
I was
Monday.
born, it was
All
in the
right?
seeds
No,
of
you
time.
had to get that. You don't just draw that up a few hours before the show. All right?
Yeah.
And you yourself, after Brunson's last 2 games
What?
before this one, were like, oh my gosh. I put Jaylen Brunson
Never.
in club too. I'll give you this.
Like DiCaprio and
The other guys in the
Ian
club
never showed.
now, they aren't looking at him like, what's old boy
That's
doing
true.
in here? Right? What's old boy doing in here? Maybe one day he'll actually
Show
deserve
the
to be-
line.
He is
definitely deserves it.
a star player
Who we let in
having
instead?
a superstar historical series. But one postseason does not a
You
superstar
just
make.
you just want there to be. Here's the thing. I think you want there to be a vacancy in the club because there's no, one on the
I think
outside
Donovan.
you want in.
I
instead.
think Donovan.
Donovan.
He's not
It's
playing.
not his fault he's hurt. I'm just saying,
Well,
I think
Jaylen's hurt
Donovan
too.
Mitchell is better than Jaylen Brunson.
Oh my
think
goodness!
that's
You
fair.
know who didn't think that? Donovan Mitchell when Jaylen beat him last year in the playoffs.
Hey,
One
future
series.
teammates. Future teammates.
Look at
No, they're not
Donovan's
future
track record.
teammates.
Google him.
I
Google
don't go ahead.
Yeah,
Will. I don't need
Google.
to
No, go ahead.
Google him. What I can tell you is this: the New York Knicks in the 20 years before Jaylen Brunson arrived won 1 playoff series. They had not been to a conference finals this millennia.
great run.
And since he's gotten there, he beat Donovan in a playoff series, won another one against another guy in line in Maxey and Embiid, and is now beating the Celtics to get them back to the conference finals.
He's playing great, but it's I need to see more.
It's an epic run, Brew.
Quick-
5
It's
40-point games.
Pretty good.
It is an epic run.
Halliburton on your All-NBA teams? Did he end up making
No,
13?
he didn't.
Okay.
Jaylen made second team.
Right.
But that doesn't mean Julius Randle was second team last year. Is he a superstar?
By the way,
Is he a superstar?
No, of course.
Jaylen
We
wasn't
don't-
even the best player on his team last year. Now
Yes,
he's
he
club
was.
superstar.
Yes, he was.
Well,
not according to you,
No,
Fugazi
he was
voters.
second team.
Us
Julius
eye
Randle.
test guys
Stop
knew it all along.
You didn't have
That
it.
is by
Gentlemen.
Okay.
We've got to go to break. Raising your voices. What are we doing here?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.